What if closing your shop tonight was the last normal thing you ever did? Imagine walking to your car, exhausted and ready for bed, only to have a bleeding, terrifyingly handsome stranger crash into you out of the shadows. Before you can even scream, he snatches your keys, shoves you into the passenger seat, and floors the accelerator, dragging you into a heart-stopping, high-speed evasion from armed hitmen who are shooting to kill. Your quiet, predictable life is shattered in an instant, and now your survival depends entirely on the mysterious man behind the wheel. What would you do? Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss interesting stories like this. Also like and comment. Thank you. Jennifer wrapped her apron around the counter hook, sighing as the digital clock on the cafe wall flickered to 11:45 p.m. It had been a brutal shift. The espresso machine had leaked, the supply truck was late, and her joints ached with a deep, heavy weariness. Locking the glass doors of Sugar and Spice Cafe, she stepped out into the biting night air, her heels clicking against the damp pavement as she walked toward her battered sedan. Suddenly, a heavy shadow stumbled out from the alleyway. Jennifer gasped, freezing in her tracks. A man dressed entirely in tattered black clothing crashed straight into her, his chest heaving, the unmistakable scent of copper and iron hitting her nose. He was bleeding. What the heck? Get off me! Jennifer yelled, trying to push his massive frame away. Before she could scream, the man's hand shot out with terrifying precision. He snatched her car keys straight out of her hand, his dark eyes burning with desperate intensity. Get in. Now, he rasped, his voice a low, gravelly command that brooked no argument. Are you insane? Help! Robbery! He didn't give her a choice. Grabbing her by the arm, he shoved her into the passenger seat and threw himself into the driver's side, slamming the door just as three men carrying metal pipes burst from the shadows. Hey, he's in the car. Get him! A voice roared from the dark. Jennifer screamed as the man jammed the key into the ignition. The engine roared to life. With a violent screech of tires, he threw the sedan into reverse, slamming into a trash bin before spinning the wheel with a practiced, effortless elegance that completely contradicted his bloody appearance. He slammed on the gas. The car flew down the narrow alley, clipping a side mirror against the brick wall, sparks flying into the night. Slow down. You're gonna kill us. Jennifer shrieked, gripping the dashboard until her knuckles turned white. The mysterious man didn't reply. His eyes were glued to the rearview mirror, tracking the headlights of a black SUV pursuing them. He executed a sharp, drifting turn into a main avenue, cutting off a semi-truck with millimeters to spare. The SUV tried to follow but was cut off by the truck, horns blaring in a chaotic symphony. Within 2 minutes of heart-stopping, high-speed maneuvers, they had completely lost the pursuers. As soon as the danger passed, the adrenaline keeping the man upright evaporated. The car drifted to a halt by an abandoned curb, and with a soft groan, his head slumped heavily against the steering wheel. Hey, mister, don't you dare die in my car. Jennifer panicked, shaking his shoulder. He was completely unconscious. Unable to leave a dying man on the street, Jennifer somehow managed to haul his heavy, muscular body back into the passenger seat and drove him straight to her small apartment above the cafe. For the next 2 hours, Jennifer's living room looked like a battlefield. She patched up a deep gash on his ribs and cleaned the bruises on his face. Up close, despite the blood and grime, she couldn't help but notice he was staggeringly handsome. He had sharp, aristocratic features, flawless skin beneath the dirt, and a commanding aura even while asleep. As the sun began to peek through the blinds, the man's eyes snapped open. He instantly sat up, wincing in agony, his hand flying to his side. He looked around the modest apartment, his eyes instantly turning wary. Where am I? Who are you? He demanded, his voice laced with an innate authority that irritated Jennifer. Excuse me? You're in my apartment, because you hijacked my car and almost got us killed. Jennifer snapped, crossing her arms. I should be asking who you are and why men with pipes were trying to turn you into a pancake. The man hesitated. His mind raced. He couldn't tell her the truth. He couldn't tell her that he was Ji-hoon Kong, the sole heir to the Kong global empire, the richest bachelor in South Korea. He couldn't tell her that his own younger brother, Min-ho, had just tried to assassinate him to steal the family fortune while their mother lay in a coma. I am just a driver, Ji-hoon lied, forcing his voice to sound humble. A private driver. I made a mistake. I borrowed money from a very bad loan shark to cover some medical expenses. Couldn't pay it back on time. That was the gang leader's men. Jennifer's expression softened instantly. Her fierce demeanor melted into deep empathy. A loan shark? Oh, honey, those monsters will literally take an arm and a leg. Why didn't you just go to the police? The police are in their pockets, Ji-hoon said, which wasn't entirely a lie, considering his brother had bought off half the district force. If I go to them, I am a dead man. Jennifer sighed heavily, rubbing her temples. Look, I can't have thugs showing up at my cafe. But I also can't just throw a wounded man out into the street to get murdered. She looked him up and down. You said you're a driver, right? And you're driving back there? I mean, you almost killed me, but you clearly know your way around a steering wheel. I am a very good driver, Ji-hoon said quietly. Good. Because my cafe needs a delivery and supply driver. The hours are long. The pay isn't corporate, but it's steady. You can work for me, earn an honest living, and we can slowly pay off those debts of yours. What's your name? Ji-hoon stared at her. For the first time in his entire life, someone was looking at him without seeing a dollar sign, a corporate title, or a political asset. She just saw a human being in trouble. Ji-hoon, he murmured. Just Ji-hoon. All right, Ji-hoon. I'm Jennifer. Welcome to Sugar and Spice. First lesson, we start at 5 a.m. The transition from a penthouse in Seoul to a bustling kitchen in a black-owned cafe was an absolute disaster for Ji-hoon. He had never held a mop in his life. He didn't know how to open an industrial trash bin without looking like he was solving a Rubik's Cube. Ji-hoon, the flour bags go in the pantry, not next to the sink. Jennifer called out, wiping down a table. My apologies, boss, Ji-hoon muttered, lifting a heavy 50-pound sack of flour with ease, his muscles straining against his tight shirt. Despite his lack of domestic skills, his physical strength was undeniable. And why are you holding the broom like it's a golf club? Jennifer laughed, walking over. She stood close to him, wrapping her hands around his on the broom handle to guide his grip. Like this. Smooth strokes. You're cleaning, not trying to hit a hole-in-one. Ji-hoon froze, smelling the sweet scent of vanilla and cinnamon that permanently clung to her. Her warmth radiated against his chest. I understand, he whispered, his heart doing a strange, unfamiliar flutter. Good. Don't worry, you'll get the hang of it, Jennifer said with a bright, encouraging smile before walking away. Ji-hoon watched her go, a strange smile breaking across his face. In his world, servants did everything, and affection was bought and sold. Here, a woman who barely knew him was patiently teaching him how to sweep a floor. It felt liberating. As the weeks passed, the cafe dynamic grew lively. Ji-hoon became an expert at deliveries, his elite defensive driving skills making him the fastest delivery driver in the city. But a new problem arose in the form of Michael, the head baker. Michael was a tall, incredibly handsome Black American man with a brilliant smile, a sharp wit, and a head of perfectly styled, full hair. He was also openly infatuated with Jennifer. One afternoon, Ji-hoon was stacking crates in the back room when he overheard two female cashiers gossiping near the break area. Man, Michael looked so fine today with that flour dusted on his arms, one whispered. Night? And you know Jennifer loves a lean, muscular guy with a full head of hair. Michael is literally her exact type. I'm telling you, they're gonna hook up soon. Ji-hoon's grip tightened on the plastic crate until the plastic groaned. Lean? Muscular? Full hair? That night, Ji-hoon stood in front of his bathroom mirror. He stared at his hair, running a hand through it, making sure it looked perfectly voluminous. The next morning, Jennifer walked into the cafe kitchen to find Ji-hoon doing intense, rapid-fire push-ups on the floor, sweat glistening on his broad shoulders. Ji-hoon, Jennifer asked, holding a clipboard. Are you trying to break my floorboards? Ji-hoon snapped to his feet, completely breathless but trying to act suave. Just ensuring my physical conditioning is optimal for lifting the milk crates, boss. Jennifer's eyes lingered on his defined chest for a second too long before she cleared her throat, blushing. Right. Well, just don't injure yourself. The jealousy only intensified during the day. Whenever Michael would walk past Jennifer and flash a dazzling smile, saying, Hey beautiful, made those special cinnamon rolls you like, Ji-hoon would suddenly appear out of nowhere, aggressively slamming a fresh pitcher of ice water onto Jennifer's desk. You must stay hydrated, boss. The humidity in the kitchen is dangerous, Ji-hoon would say smoothly, glaring at Michael over Jennifer's head. Michael would just raise an eyebrow, thoroughly amused by the intense Korean driver. Despite his jealousy, Ji-hoon's actions toward Jennifer were deeply, quietly tender. He watched her constantly. When she sat at her desk late at night, balancing the account books, her eyes fluttering shut with exhaustion, Ji-hoon would quietly slip into the room. The moment her head began to droop, about to hit the hard wooden table, Ji-hoon's large, warm hand would softly slide underneath her forehead, cradling her head so gently she didn't even wake up. He would sit there for an hour, holding her head up, just watching her sleep. Every morning, he would place her daily vitamins on her desk next to a perfectly brewed cup of chamomile tea. He noticed everything: when her shoes were worn out, when she forgot to eat lunch, when she was stressed. Meanwhile, across the globe, the atmosphere was entirely different. In a towering corporate office in Seoul, Min-ho Kong slammed his fists onto a glass boardroom table, shattering a crystal glass. "What do you mean you haven't found him?" Min-ho screamed at his lead assassin. "He was shot. He was bleeding. How does a man disappear into thin air in a foreign country?" "Sir, we lose his track after the car chase. Someone helped him. We are searching every low-income district, assuming he is hiding," the man stuttered. "Find him and kill him." Min-ho roared, his eyes bloodshot. "The board is asking questions. Mother is still in a coma, but if she wakes up before he is dead, she will give him the entire inheritance papers. I need him gone permanently." Back at the cafe, an unexpected bond began to form. One evening, after closing, Michael found Ji-hoon sitting on the back steps, staring blankly into the night. "Hey man," Michael said, tossing a cold soda to him. Ji-hoon caught it effortlessly. "You know, you can stop trying to glare a hole through my head. I know you like Jennifer." Ji-hoon remained silent, staring at the can. "Look, brother," Michael smiled, sitting down next to him. "Jennifer is like a sister to me. I flirt with her because it's fun and it keeps her spirits up, but she's not into me like that. But you? The way she looks at you when you aren't paying attention, you've got it bad, and so does she. But you're carrying a mountain on your shoulders, man. I can see it in your eyes. You aren't just some driver running from a lone shark." Ji-hoon looked at Michael, seeing the genuine warmth and brotherhood in his eyes. For weeks, Michael had been nothing but kind, even when Ji-hoon was being difficult. Ji-hoon let out a long, heavy sigh. "My name is Ji-hoon Kong," he said softly. "My family owns Kong Global. My brother tried to murder me. He controls the company because our mother is in a coma, and he threatens to pull her life support if anyone opposes him. I am hiding to stay alive, but I am losing time." Michael's jaw dropped. "Holy, you're a freaking billionaire? And your brother is a psycho?" "Yes, and I am in love with Jennifer, but I cannot drag her into this nightmare." What neither of them realized was that the back door was slightly ajar. Jennifer stood in the shadows of the kitchen, a tray of mugs in her hands. Her heart hammered against her ribs, her mind spinning into absolute chaos. Billionaire? Assassins? Coma? The next morning, Jennifer didn't yell or scream. She called Ji-hoon into her office and locked the door. "How long were you going to lie to me?" she asked, her voice trembling but fierce. Ji-hoon lowered his head. "Jennifer, I am sorry. I wanted to protect you. If my brother finds out I am here, he will kill you too." "I don't care about that," Jennifer yelled, tears springing to her eyes. "You let me believe you were some broke guy getting hunted by lone sharks. I worried about you every single day. I gave you vitamins. I taught you how to sweep. Because those were the happiest days of my life." Ji-hoon burst out, stepping forward, his eyes blazing with a raw, unlocked emotion. "No one has ever cared if I ate, or if I slept, or if I was healthy. To my family, I am a crown. To you, I was just Ji-hoon. I lied because I was terrified that if you knew who I was, you would look at me differently. I cannot lose the way you look at me, Jennifer." Jennifer stared at him, her breath catching in her throat. The raw vulnerability in his eyes completely disarmed her. She wiped a tear from her cheek. "Well, you're a terrible liar," she whispered, a small, watery smile breaking through. "And we are going to ruin your brother's entire life." "What?" Ji-hoon blinked. "You think a black woman from the South Side is going to let some corporate punk bully her man and his mom? Absolutely not. We're getting your company back." Within 48 hours, a plan was set. Ji-hoon discovered through his loyal corporate contacts that Min-ho was flying into the city for a secret meeting with a corrupt offshore investor at an ultra-exclusive, underground VIP bar downtown. The night of the operation, the tension was palpable. Jennifer looked at herself in the mirror of the van. She was wearing a sleek, form-fitting black waitress uniform, a dramatic blonde wig, and heavy makeup that completely transformed her facial structure. In her right earlobe was a sparkling diamond earring, which was actually a military-grade audio and video recorder provided by Ji-hoon's contacts. "Are you sure about this, Jennifer?" Ji-hoon asked, his hands gripping her shoulders from behind. His eyes were filled with intense anxiety. "Min-ho is ruthless. If he discovers who you are, he won't," Jennifer said firmly, turning around to face him. "We do this together. Remember the plan." Inside the heavily guarded VIP section of the bar, the air was thick with the scent of expensive cigars and cognac. Min-ho sat on a plush leather couch, flanked by two gorgeous models and guarded by heavy-set bodyguards. Ji-hoon, wearing a sleek suit and sunglasses, walked into the private room, acting the part of the vengeful, cornered brother. Min-ho's eyes widened in shock, then curved into a sinister, arrogant smirk. Well, look what the rats dragged in," Min-ho mocked, leaning back. "You're alive. I must fire my security team. You think you can steal everything, Min-ho?" Ji-hoon roared, playing his part perfectly. He slammed his hand onto the table, deliberately feigning wild rage. "You think the board will support a murderer?" Jennifer stepped forward smoothly, carrying a tray with a bottle of Macallan. "More drinks for the table, sir," she said in a high-pitched, completely different voice. Ji-hoon threw his hands up in an angry gesture, purposely striking Jennifer's tray. The glass shattered, spilling liquid all over Min-ho's expensive designer shoes. "Look what you did, you clumsy idiot." Ji-hoon screamed at Jennifer, acting furious. "I am so sorry. So sorry, sir," Jennifer cried out, instantly dropping to her knees with a cloth, beginning to wipe down Min-ho's shoes. As her head hovered near the table, the earring recorder captured everything clearly. The offshore account documents laid out on the table, the signatures, the illegal transfer details. Min-ho, however, wasn't looking at the documents. He was looking at Ji-hoon. He noticed that despite Ji-hoon's shouting, his eyes were locked onto the waitress on the floor with a soft, intensely protective, and panicked gaze. Min-ho's eyes narrowed with sudden, malicious realization. Wait a minute. Before anyone could react, Min-ho reached down, grabbed Jennifer by her hair, and pulled her up roughly. "Let go of me," Jennifer gasped. "You're not a waitress," Min-ho sneered, a twisted grin on his face. "Ji-hoon, you brought a little pet with you? How sweet." Min-ho pulled her closer, his face inches from hers. "She's kind of cute. Maybe I'll take her from you before I finish you off." Min-ho leaned in, trying to force a disgusting kiss onto her lips. Slap. The sound echoed like a gunshot through the VIP room. Jennifer's hand was vibrating from the force of the slap she had just delivered straight across Min-ho's face. Min-ho's face turned instantly purple with rage. "You miserable bee." He raised his massive hand to strike her back with full force. Ji-hoon moved like lightning. He intercepted Min-ho's wrist mid-air, his grip tightening like a steel vise. The bones in Min-ho's wrist audibly crunched. Ji-hoon's eyes were completely dead, filled with a terrifying, murderous rage. He wanted to rip his brother's head off, but he knew the plan. He forced himself to take a deep breath. "This is no way to treat a lady, little brother," Ji-hoon growled, flinging Min-ho's hand back contemptuously. Suddenly, the heavy oak doors of the VIP room burst open. Two frantic bodyguards rushed in. Sir, there is a crazy man outside. He just smashed the side mirror of your Bugatti with a crowbar, and he's running down the street." It was Michael, the perfect distraction. "What? My car?" Min-ho screamed, his materialistic obsession completely overriding his suspicion. "Catch him. Kill him." In the absolute chaos of the bodyguards rushing out, Jennifer fell back to the floor as if startled. With a swift, practiced movement, she reached out and firmly pressed a micro-slim GPS and audio tracking bug directly into the deep groove of the sole of Min-ho's shoe. "Let's go," Ji-hoon whispered fiercely, grabbing Jennifer's hand. They bolted out of the room, blending into the crowded dance floor before Min-ho could even realize what had happened. 3 days later, the trap was ready to spring. The recorded conversations from the earring had been compiled into a massive digital file containing concrete evidence of corporate fraud, attempted murder, and illegal offshore laundering. The files had already been securely transmitted to the FBI and international authorities. Then, the final piece of the puzzle fell into place. Ji-hoon's private medical contact sent a scrambled text. Your mother has just opened her eyes. She is conscious. But the victory was short-lived. Min-ho, through his deep web of corrupt hospital informants, received the alert at the exact same second. She's awake. Min-ho panicked, standing in his hidden safe-house penthouse. The inheritance papers. She still has the physical biometric keys to the primary trust. If she speaks to Ji-hoon, I am ruined. Min-ho completely lost his mind. Driven by pure, unadulterated desperation, he drove frantically to the private hospital wing, slipping past the short-staffed evening security. He burst into the intensive care unit. There, a frail, elegant older woman was sitting up in bed, breathing through an oxygen mask. Mother, Min-ho hissed, walking toward the bed like a demon. You should have stayed asleep. The woman's eyes widened in horror as Min-ho reached down, his hands wrapping around her throat, cutting off her air supply. Give me the trust keys. Where are they? If I am going down, I am taking everything. The woman gasped, clawing weakly at his wrists. Bang! The hospital room door was kicked off its hinges, flying across the room. Drop her. Move away from her right now, a booming voice commanded. Min-ho spun around, his hands dropping from his mother's throat. A dozen armed federal agents flooded the room, their red laser sights painting Min-ho's chest. Behind them stood Ji-hoon, Jennifer, and Michael. It's over, Min-ho, Ji-hoon said, his voice calm, cold, and triumphant. The FBI has everything. Your accounts are frozen. Your assets are gone. You are finished. No. No. I am the heir. I built this. Min-ho screamed like a feral animal. He tried to lung toward the window to escape, but Michael stepped forward, executing a flawless, heavy tackle that slammed Min-ho face first onto the linoleum floor. Stay down, punk, Michael grunted, pinning him easily as the agents rushed forward to slap heavy steel cuffs onto Min-ho's wrists. Min-ho was dragged out of the room, screaming obscenities, his face covered in bruises. Ji-hoon rushed to the bedside, falling to his knees. Mother, mother, can you hear me? The older woman looked at her eldest son, tears streaming down her pale cheeks. She raised a weak hand, brushing it against his cheek. Ji-hoon, my boy, you came back. I came back, mother. And I brought the people who saved my life. Ji-hoon looked back at Jennifer, who was standing near the door, wiping a happy tear from her eye. 3 weeks later, the storm had completely cleared. Min-ho was locked away in a maximum security federal facility, facing life without parole. Ji-hoon had officially stepped into his rightful position as the chairman of Kong Global, his name clearing headlines across the world. With the best medical care money could buy and frequent visits from Jennifer, who brought her famous homemade chicken soup to the hospital, Ji-hoon's mother recovered with miraculous speed. It was a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Sugar and Spice Café was closed to the public, but the lights inside were warm. Jennifer was wiping down the counter, wearing her favorite old apron, when the front door bells chimed. She looked up. Ji-hoon stood there. He wasn't wearing his billion-dollar tailored suits. He was wearing the plain black t-shirt and jeans he used to wear when he was her delivery driver. He had a soft, nervous smile on his face. The cafe is closed, Mr. Chairman. Jennifer teased, her heart thumping wildly. I am not here as the chairman, Ji-hoon said softly, walking over to her. He reached across the counter, taking her hands in his. Jennifer, when I was running for my life, I thought the world was entirely dark. I thought everyone was an enemy. Then I crashed into a stubborn, beautiful cafe owner who scolded me, fed me, taught me how to sweep, and showed me what real love looks like. He walked around the counter, stepping directly into her personal space. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, velvet box. Opening it, a flawless, brilliant diamond ring caught the warm cafe light. I don't want to be Korea's richest bachelor anymore, Ji-hoon whispered, his eyes filled with absolute devotion. I just want to be your driver, your partner, your husband. Jennifer, will you marry me? Jennifer stared at the ring, then up at his beautiful, sincere face. A massive, radiant smile broke across her face. Only if you promise to keep taking your vitamins, Ji-hoon. She laughed, tears of pure joy spilling over. Yes, yes, a million times yes. Ji-hoon slid the ring onto her finger, lifted her off her feet, and spun her around the kitchen, laughing happily before bringing his lips down to hers in a deep, passionate kiss that sealed their forever. If you loved this wild, romantic, and dramatic journey of Ji-hoon and Jennifer, don't forget to hit that subscribe button right now. Smash the like button, and drop a comment below telling us what your favorite part of the story was. See you in the next one.